Previous Shiur, sorry a little, my voice is still. In the previous Shiur, we spoke Amir La'akim al pi pashtis Rov Rishonim and Lahalachim V'achronim. The Isser Amir La'akim is the Isser D'Rabbanan, and we also spoke that the Isser Amir La'akim to tell a guy to do an Isser is not only Lagabi Hilchas Shabbos, it's Lagabi Shar Yisurim as well, Sai Yisura De'Raisa and Sai Yisura De'Rabbanan. In today's Shiur, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to try to go through the tzura, the definition, what's included in Amir La'akim that's Aser, and what's not Amir La'akim. Very, very negeya. And then we'll see there are yotzim and aklaus that even though it's Amir La'akim, sometimes it's not Aser b'chlal. Even though it's Amir La'akim, it's not Aser. And sometimes, even though it's Amir La'akim, which be'etzem is Aser, there's a heter. The tzura of Amir La'akim that's Aser is to tell a guy, b'loshen tzivui, you tell the guy to turn on the light for you. That's a classical case of Amir La'akim that's Aser. Sai if you tell him to turn on a light, and Sai if you tell him to do an Isser D'Rabbanan, to move Muktzah, is also Aser. That is Amir La'akim, and that is Aser. The Ramah adds on a case that even if you don't say it, if you meramis, it's also Aser. In other words, even though we know and we understand Amir La'akim is saying, is talking, even if you don't talk, you tell the guy, you tell him like that, you point to the switch and you go like that, that's included Zakter Amon, Amir La'akim, and it's Aser. There's yet a third case that's also included in Amir La'akim. Also over there in the Ramah, the Meshavur explains it, which may be actually a little less negeya. I don't know how practical it is, but if you tell the guy, b'loshen tzivui, even though you don't tell him to turn on the light, you tell him to scratch his nose, and he understands that when you mitzav him, you tell him to do that, it means to turn on the light. That's also included in Amir La'akim, and it's Aser. So we have over here very clear, Amir La'akim, you tell the guy, turn on the light, move muktzah, or even if you don't tell him, if you just wink to him, do this Isser, it's also Aser. And if you tell him, even if you don't tell him turn on the light, you tell him some sort of code, do this, and he understands that by you telling him this is to do a malach, it's also Amir La'akim.
Is that a code or like a slang? Like if I have a code with him.
No, so code, if you tell him 13a and memela, I don't know if that's called a tzivui, but if you say it in a word, you tell him to do something, you tell him tie your shoes. He's not even wearing shoes, so he understands it means do a certain malacha, that's included. That is Amir La'akim. What's not Amir La'akim? But often that you don't tell him to do it. The classical example is you bring the guy in and you tell him it's very dark over here. That's weird. That's not Amir La'akim, and that's mutter. That's mutter. We'll get to it in a minute. We'll get to it in a minute. That there's still yet another issue afterwards. But mehilchas Amir La'akim, the guy's in the room. You call the guy and you tell him it's dark over here, and he understands. He turns the light on. That's mutter.
And they're going to come and not called the city?
Not called?
You're calling him in.
You could call the guy into the house. What's the problem?
You're calling him and then telling him.
You invite him into the house. Can you do me a favor? Come into the house. And when he comes in, you tell him it's dark. What's about telling the guy, Rabbi said, you tell the guy, I'm not going to turn the light on. Today's Saturday, it's Shabbos, I can't turn the light on. And Memela, he understands to turn the light on. Is that mutter? You're not telling him it's dark. You're not telling him to turn the light on. You're telling him, I can't turn the light on because it's Shabbos.
It says.
What'd it say?
It says
I get it. I can't open it.
And Mela what?
Sounds like it's the same thing. It's telling him I can't open it. I don't understand.
So what's it in? What's it? Reb Vosner and Shevet Alevi says, it's interessant, he doesn't bring, he says that the Isser, he speaks about a Shaila, that people park their cars illegally, came Shabbos and the police came around, they were starting to give tickets. So you want to ask a guy to move the car. So Bishlam, if the guy comes into the house and you tell him it's dark, okay, so he chaps. What are you going to tell? What are you going to tell the guy exactly? That it's parked illegal. What are you telling him? Could be you could if you have the right guy that chaps. He's a real Shabbos guy. He understands. But so they asked Rav Vosner, could you tell the guy that it's Shabbos today? I'm now going to move the car. They're giving out tickets. So he says you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. Because the Isser Amir La'akim, it's interesting because you're not saying, it's not a tzivui. You're not telling the guy, do me a favor, turn on the light, move my car. All you're saying is, I'm now allowed to do the malacha.
You're saying the malacha.
What'd say?
You're saying the malacha.
Right. You're mentioning, very good. Dr. Vosner, it's also, because you're mentioning the davar aser. You're mentioning the davar aser. It's a chiddush. If we learned in a previous year that the Isser is out with davar, so maybe it goes into the davar. Be'etzem, Amir La'akim, telling the guy, if it's Zilusa the Shabbos, so just mentioning that I'm not allowed to do it, that's more of a zilzal than just saying it's dark. They bring B'Shem Reb Shlomo Zalman. Reb Shlomo Zalman says it's mutter. So this would be a moira de ganaf kamin. It's mamash. It simplifies in the oifun of Amir La'akim, where it's not Amir La'akim. If you could just tell him, I'm not allowed to do kach v'kach, he'll understand very quickly that memela, that's what you need his help for.
Can I tell the guy, make sure I don't get a ticket, here's the keys?
What'd say?
Can I tell the guy, make sure I don't get a ticket, here's the keys? I'm not saying move my car.
Really what you're saying is, that's what I mentioned before also, it's interesting, just like you could tell him, it's dark in this room, you could tell the guy, look, they're giving tickets over here. So just like when you call on a guy, it's dark, sometimes I've had it, you call it's dark, and he says, okay, so what do you want from me? But we're talking about if the guy chaps a little bit, so then he technically would chap with the car also. So you're right, that's... But if you could tell him, if you could tell the guy that I'm now going to turn the light on, so then he chaps, you call him in, you say, listen, it's dark in here, I'm now going to turn the light on at Shabbos. So then, it's pretty obvious what we need over here.
This doctor says that he said you should tell him I can't read it because it's not open. Can't say I can't open it. Say I can't read it because it's not open. Then he understands.
But you can't tell him. It says you can't tell.
It says you can tell him that I can't read it. It's not the malacha.
But it doesn't say that you're not allowed to tell him. Yeah, it doesn't.
It says this lashon says it like.
Lamaisa, even though we just came out clear that these eitzes had to tell the guy to do something without being over, it should not be Amir La'akim. It's muridik important, even though we're not learning now, we're learning Shin Vav, Shin Zayin, but it's important that Allah and Siman Reish Shayin Vav, that even if you don't tell the guy b'chlal, you have a room that's pitch black, and the guy turns on the light. The Allah is, it's asa to be in the hand. If the guy does something, even without you telling him it's asa, why is it asa? At least according to one of the pshatim, it's asa. So you shouldn't come to tell the guy, you shouldn't come to Amir La'akim. That's all included in Amir La'akim, but Al Kaponim, even if you didn't tell the guy, if the guy did it, it's asa. So really, it's very nice. You have a room, it's dark, you call the guy in, and you tell him it's dark, and he turns on the light. But you got around the din of Amir La'akim, got around, meaning to say is, you did it kedin, but Lamaisa is yet another problem, that even if you didn't tell the guy b'chlal and he does it, it's still aser. So Lamaisa, for that, there's a klar nafkamina. If it's a room that's pitch black, then tak it's aser. It's tak aser. Masha'ink in a room that It's not pitch black. It's just very not geschmack. Place where you want to eat the Shabbos Suda. There are candles you could see, but you want light. So you call in the guy to turn. You tell him not a mir lakem, and he turns on the light. Then it's mutter. But often, if you were able to have the hana even without the guy, now the guy added on, then it's mutter. My mama's just had this 2 weeks ago, a Shabbos bris, and I was using the room next door. They didn't turn the light on. Lamaisa, with leaving the door open, there was light. It's just not so geschmack. It's usable. So Mela, I was able to tell the guy. I told the guy, it's dark in the room. We'll get to it. Very good. Gavaldik. I mamash appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get to it. I want to try to go through as many, let's call it heterim in Amir Alakim. We'll see as much as we cover. And if I don't cover, maybe Beis Hashem there'll be a part 2. But you're right, Taki. Even in mitzvah, we'll see how much of a heter it is. Let's go into a shaila for a minute. Also, a very classical, common shaila. The air conditioning is off. Could you call a guy in and tell him it's boiling hot in here? He'll chop, he's going to turn it on. So what does the Olam say? You're not going to do it ba'oifin that it's going to be asar mir la'akam, because you're not going to tell the guy to turn on the air conditioning. You're going to call him in. It's going to be so hot, you don't even have to tell him b'chlal. He's going to chop and he's going to ask, where do I turn the air conditioning on? Where is it? But Lamaisa, what's with the other did? The din that Lamaisa, if he doesn't turn it on, it's hot, so you're being nehena. Are you allowed or not? Do you be a mokum to say that you're allowed to? There's a mokum to say you're allowed to, because Lamaisa, be'etzim you could use the room. It's very not geschmack. It's very uncomfortable, but you could use the room. Be'etzim, like when it's pitch black, you can't use the room b'chlal. If there's a little bit of light, so you could use the room, and then the guy turns on the light, it's much more, it's lighter. What's up with air conditioning? So do you say the same thing? Pashas, you would say that it's mutter. Lamaiser, Moshe says, in Shuvas, he says it's aser. And he says the reason why it's aser, why is it aser? Because legabe the hanav, the coolness, you have 0 before the guy turns on the air conditioning. By the light, there's light in the room. It's minimal light, and these are high sofa. Here, if the air conditioning is running and it's cool, and you want it from 73 to 65, I hear. So pshat is maybe you're adding the l'chara Moshe will be maskim. But even where it's hot, and pshat is from hot to cold, you want to put an air conditioning, that's going to be aser. Oh, very good, very good. So we'll get to that in Minchas Yitzchak, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's first start in the heterim. This is, I was just bringing the Nakuda only Lagabi, the din, that if a guy does something for you, you're not allowed to be nehena. Good. But you're saying, that's one of the heterim that you're actually allowed to tell the guy to do it, kipshuta, without getting around. But Loitra Moshe, even if you don't even say b'chlal, he turns it on, it's also going to be aser.
He's a heter with air conditioner. I remember that the way it works is removing hot air, not by adding cold air. It could be that there are those that compare it.
Very interesting.
Taking away the darkness, by taking away light. I'm not sure if I'm agree with that, but
I hear.
The way air conditioner works is not necessarily adding cold air, it's removing hot air. I think that's how.
But even Zevi is saying that the pshat is the air conditioning, even if outside, I think the Metzia says it actually. My air conditioning blows cold air, but even outside, taka that it takes away the hot air. I wonder, could be still be also because Lamaisa, that's 100% being done by the guy. You could still hear. It's still.
If it's currently blowing or not. If it's currently blowing, and you just blow the thermostat.
That could be his mutter. That I'm asking the oil, I'm being ma'ira, but he's speaking about it's boiling hot, they're coming to turn on the air conditioning, so there you had 0, you have nothing of that hana before.
The compressor only goes on like a minute or 2 after the fan goes on. Yeah. So you're not getting direct cool.
That's also a very good point. I also want to get to that really behemshach. It's not a chance to get to it tonight. But Mordechai is pointing out in a kuda that maybe when he turns it on, it's really a psek reisha maybe, which we'll get to much later. They're very interesting. Psek reisha, this is also a tshuva for Moshe. Psek reisha you're allowed to tell a guy to do. What'd you say?
No, you can turn it off before it goes on.
When the guy turns it on, he's saying that he's turning it on, 3 minutes later the compressor goes on. He's saying it's even schwacher than a psek reisha. No, but I'm saying even if it is a psek reisha, you're allowed to tell a guy to do something psek reisha. We'll get to it later. I want to try to go misuder.
Not in the scholar, he's right, that's right. Oh, search about in the scholar.
No,
and that's a Rishon.
you're good, you're right. Here you're doing it for that. Richtig. Good. We can't fly around Gansel Shabbos and Efrat because I don't know it. But let's, good. So, our component divided we have over here with a chlorite, we have over here Amir La'akam, where the Rabbanon said it's Aser Amir La'akam, and then we also have the Tzir where Amir La'akam is mutter. I'm sorry, not mutter, where it's not Amir La'akam. We just said even if it's not Amir La'akam, there's still the issue, so to speak, that if a guy does a few, you're not allowed to be in the henna. So we said if there's mixas oir, it's okay. Let's start our kapanim with the first oifen. That not the pshat is that it's a heter of Amir La'akam, but there's no isser of Amir La'akam. That's the case of chayli. Chayli. What type of chayli? That also is a very big shmooze. These different levels of chayli are very in Siman Shin Chav Ches. We're not learning chayli, but just to bring it out in a small nakuda, mix a little bit of chayli is aser. You're not allowed to tell a guy a little bit of chayli. Ktsas, a shtickle chayli. So then you're allowed to al kapana by the Rabbana, but we're talking about a real chayli. A chayli, it's not a chayli sheyesh by sakana, but a chayli. Cold in the cold Medinas, a strong cold. It's freezing Shabbos, and you forgot to turn on the steam. It's cold. It's chayli. It could cause chayli. B'chai gavna, Amir La'akam is mutter. You're allowed to call the guy and tell the guy, "Could you please turn on my steam?" And Memela, what'd say?
The other way when it's hot to make it cold.
So we'll get to that in a minute. Very good. Gevaldik, the other way. In Shulchan Aruch, it only says about cold. Shulchan Aruch only speaks about cold. They'll say if it's freezing cold, you're allowed to go and tell the guy to turn on the steam. Without any kunzin, without any this, without any ways out. It's mutter. Klar, it's mutter. And for shteitzach, because there's no isser, Memela, we sicher don't have what to talk about, that there's going to be an issue of the guy doing something if you're allowed to be in the henna. Because the whole issa if the guy does something for you if you're allowed to be in the henna is because we're afraid you're going to call Amir La'akam. Over here it's mutter. You're allowed to tell the guy lahedi to turn on the steam. Hayois, you're allowed to tell the guy to turn on the steam when it's freezing cold. Dr. Moshe, who adin, if the air conditioning is going and it's freezing cold, you're allowed, it's the same thing. The Viola was still already talking about cold, the Viola. You're allowed to tell the guy to turn it off. Lower it, turn it off, it's the same thing. Car doesn't dafka mean because outside it's freezing cold. If for some reason the air conditioner is going and it's 40 degrees in the house, you're also allowed to tell the guy.
Sounds easier because turning off is always not in the hand. Turns the light.
No, but it's mutter even you're allowed to tell the guy lahedya. Now you're saying about the other day which you meant, very good. Quad, it's interessant. He speaks a little bit about a shul that maybe it's less of the heter because so go somewhere else, Masha, get in your house. But we're going to get to it later. It's going to be in a part 2, Be'ez Hashem, about Tzarech Rabbim. Al Kapanim, we're handling over here about the Isser of B'makam Achayli, it's mutter, Amir La'akam is mutter. And what I'm stressing about mutter is, I'm not going to get to it in this year, but the classical case, which is not a case of mutter, but it's only heter, is shvus to shvus b'makam mitzvah, which we're going to get to. There's so much to talk over there about. Over there, it's only heter, and the vart is that if you don't have to do it, you're You're not allowed to. Meaning to say the regular case, and I don't want to go into that. There's no time b'chlal for it, but shvus to shvus, which means in the Rabbanon, you're allowed to tell a guy b'makom mitzvah. So what's the example? One of the examples, Shin Lamed Aleph, you're allowed to tell a guy to bring the baby to shul to do the bris. Only if it's through a carmel, it's not a shus aram, because it's not the raisa. Zogan the Poiskim, the Mishmura brings it, that even through a carmelis, it's not so pasha to do it. You shouldn't do it. Why? Do the bris at home. To say it's not that it's mutter. B'makom where you need to do it, shvus to shvus, b'makom it's mutter. Here, for the cold, it's mutter. It's mutter. Al kaponim, let's go back to this din, the first of many different heterim in Amir Lakam, b'makom chayli. So to say, if it's freezing cold, you're allowed to tell the guy to turn on the steam or to turn off the air conditioning. What's about fakert? It's boiling hot. So really, we mentioned before from Rabbi Moshe that even if you don't tell the guy, it's also aser. The Minchas Yitzchak has a gavaldige chiddush, and the Minchas Yitzchak says that just like the din is that everybody's a chayla b'makom freezing cold, who are din a person's a chayla b'makom boiling hot. And he himself says it's a gavaldige chiddush. It's a whole tshuva. We say in davening, l'fnei karasa miyamoid, you can't stand in front of when it's freezing cold. Tosfos in Megillah says that why dafka cold, not hot? So Tosfos says because cold is much harder to survive than hot. Freezing cold, it's much more complicated. Hot, you can figure it out. So don't be in the sun. You can have the house. Should it be brick? It should be a little cooler. But Al Kapanim, he says for heat, it's also going to be the same halacha, that it's mutter when it's boiling hot to turn on the air conditioning. It's also mutter to tell a guy.
Even though for hundreds of years they didn't have air conditioning.
So why did it become now? Now you say mitamol became a gavaldige tzorich.
You need it. Washing this in star cold gufa, that's the focus. Maybe
just mitzstar, you're uncomfortable, or the coldness makes a mitzstar means a shtickle choyli.
But it could be that the person is so uncomfortable, maybe that together.
So what you're saying is Zevi's saying very geschmack. Now that we're used to it, no, but more than mitzstar, choyli kol gufay. Once a person's used to it. So just to conclude. Let's just go over these cases, and with this I'm going to conclude that Be'ez Hashem there'll be a part two with many more shvus makom mitzvah. There's a lot of different snifim and heterim in Amir Lakam, which will continue. But just to conclude over here, just this one din that we saw at b'makom chayli's mutter. So to tell a guy, versteht sich, all this discussion is only to tell a guy. A yid is not allowed to do it. To tell a guy, allowed to tell a guy to turn on the steam, even though it's a malach, the guy's doing for you a malacha d'oraisa. It's mutter. That's a shulchan aruch. What's about to turn off the steam? I'm sorry, to turn off the steam. It's boiling hot. The steam is supposed to be it's not hot outside. To turn off the steam. Could you tell a guy to turn off the steam?
Why not? Same.
It would depend on Minchas Yitzchak and Igros Moshe. But for the Minchas Yitzchak, that for heat also a person's considered a chayla. So you're allowed to tell the guy to turn off the heat.
Open the windows.
Yeah, and I wrote over here, but often you don't have the eitzah of opening the window. If you have an eitzah, you have an eitzah. Let's go to the air conditioning to turn on the air.
The election. Right, it's going to go on higher.
Worth it.
I know.
Worth it.
I think it's cold out.
To turn on, good. If there's no eitzah, to turn on the air conditioning, could you have a guy? You'll tell him lahedya to turn on the air conditioning on Shabbos, Amir la'akam. So the Minchas Yitzchak says it's mutter. You're telling the guy to do a malacha d'oraisa, Amir la'akam, it's mutter. Me'idach, the Igros Moshe argues Mekatza al Katza, and he says not only it's aser, even if you find a way around, the guy comes in and he turns it without Amir Alakim, it's still going to be Asa because you're now going to be Nehemah. What's about turning off the air conditioning? So there we saw L'chaira, turning off the air conditioning. It's not a Shulchan Aruch, but that Rav Moshe says that it's mutter. Why would it be mutter? It's mutter, but doing it to what the Shulchan Aruch says, that if it's freezing cold. So this is din number 1 in Hilchas Amir La'akam, ba'ofen, that it's a chayli, ba'ofen, at least when it's cold, it's mutter to tell the guy to do a malacha deraisa. I'll get the recorder from upstairs.